Hi, Alden Stratton from As Wood Turns. When it comes to wood, it's almost like a Goldilocks. It's too big, too small, or just right. Well, it depends on a lot of things, but in this case, a limb is just right to make a cross or an end grain bowl. In this case, the grain is running this way, and this was the limb, and it's perfect for this small end grain bowl. So let's turn it right now.
This wood is a cross slice of an apple limb. I do not know when it was cut. While drying, it was wrapped in shrink-wrap plastic. It feels very dry now. I have measured and marked the center of the wood, not the center of the pith. This looks like it was somewhat horizontal due to how offset the pith is. The thinner side would be the top side, which is in tension. The wider side would be the bottom side. I like to use a machinist center punch rather than an awl since it is self-contained. No hammer is needed. I have seen people do all sorts of things to align a short slice perpendicular to the axis. To me, the easiest and quickest way is to press the slice against something flat, such as the top of chuck jaws or a faceplate. Better yet is this spiked faceplate with screws just barely poking through the face of the wood. It is easily made. To mount, the wood is pressed against the faceplate with live center pressure. I'm turning the bottom side first, but this is rough turning primarily to rough out the bottom and to cut a mounting tenon. My skew for the tenon, my bowl gouge for the rest. Since this is a bark edge, I cut from the outside to center, going from bark to interior wood to avoid shearing off the bark. This bark is tight to the wood, so it should work out great. Since the wood edge is irregular, I have to feel with the gouge where the outermost edge is and carefully feed inward. The wood is very dry and hard and hot as the shavings fly out in the gouge flute. I lift my fingers to escape the hot shavings. Once the tenon is ready, I can remove the faceplate, mount a chuck, and mount the wood to the chuck jaws on that tenon. I'm keeping the live center in place for now while I get a feel for the wood. With a bowl gouge, I take a few cuts to face off the wood, but I really cannot go very far with the live center in place. Now that I know what I'm dealing with, I back off the live center so that I can access the entire diameter to cut and visualize the interior shape. Still, with the bowl gouge, I shape a shallow hollow to the interior. Not fancy, but the hollow starts once the wood is solid. No need to measure. This slice is definitely thick enough. Time to sand the top side. I'm experimenting with a knob that holds a standard 2-inch sanding pad. I'm finding less need for power sanding since the lathe is providing the rotational speed. Since the outer edge is irregular, I tilt the pad slightly to avoid catching the wood edge with the leading sanding edge. Then apply walnut oil to the top side of the bowl. I also oil the top little bit of the bark, which brightens the bark and the wood nicely. I do not need to let the walnut oil dry before moving on. Next, I am mounting the wood to a slightly rounded faceplate. It does not exactly match the interior of the bowl. I rounded the faceplate to help it to center to the bowl. I'm experimenting with a piece of leather between the bowl and the faceplate. The leather should slightly pad and protect the bowl. The live center point goes into the original divot, then more shaping always from the outer edge towards the middle. After a heavy cut, I take lighter cuts. There is a little vibration, probably due to the leather, but the light cuts are taking care of business. I'm eyeballing the shape, looking for a consistent edge thickness, at least to solid wood. I'm cutting the tenon back into a short foot with a small bead around it. This is partly a just-in-case feature, in case I need to remount the bowl to touch up the top side. In that case, it would serve as a tenon. I do stop to measure the wall thickness. I'm aiming for between 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch, or 6 to 9 millimeters. By the way, you metric folks, Please do not call millimeters mils, since that is yet another measuring system or scale. You do not have fractions, so at least call the measure for what it is, millimeters or inches. Mils do not have a place in wood turning, IMHO. For sanding, out comes my sanding knob again for the outer portion of the bottom. Then hand sand the bead. At the end, reduce the size of the nub to a minimum and cut a groove just a little below the surface so that when I break off the nub, there are no torn fibers below the surface. For final sanding, to remove the nub and clean up the foot, I'm using my Jacob's chalk in the spindle. This can be dangerous, so I need to keep pressure with the sanding pad to avoid it coming loose. This is manageable, but for longer sessions, I prefer my drawbar setup. Finally, a dose of walnut oil brings out the beauty of this apple wood. I like the light sapwood and the darker heartwood. I also like the offset pith. This is a nice small bowl or maybe a plate. Meanwhile, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my website, in addition to subscribing YouTube. When you subscribe to my website, I email when there's a new video, which is more reliable than YouTube's wandering algorithmic recommendations. Please share my videos with your friends. I keep these videos short and to the point to respect your viewing time. I always appreciate your comments and questions, and please wear your face shield whenever the lathe is running.